So, all right, everyone that's here, we'd like to welcome you to our panel discussion. I'm Laura Yuri, the Marketing Director for Cratos Equipment, and I'll be hosting the webinar entitled 5 Ways to Improve Profits in 2021. During the discussion, our 3 panelists will share insights and actions that can be taken to help you recover from the tough economic impacts of 2020. So let me begin by introducing our 3 expert panelists. First, I'm going to begin with Alex. He is the CEO and founder of Cratos Equipment. Alex grew up in a family of demolition contractors. It was while working alongside his father in demolition that he discovered his true passion, helping contractors succeed. 7 years ago, Alex Berg founded Cratos Equipment with just 1 machine, and now we've expanded to 8 full battery-powered machines to help job sites safer, more efficient, and more profitable.
Thanks, Laura. Happy to be here.
All right, so next I'd like to give you some insight about Randy Hayes. He's the Vice President of Business Development and Strategic Accounts for Vacuworx. Vacuworx is best known for its vacuum lifting systems that serve a variety of industries, including oil and gas, civil construction, concrete renovation, and even in-plant manufacturing. Randy has been working in the oil and gas pipeline and related markets for 38 years. So we're super excited to have him join us.
Thanks, Laura. Appreciate the opportunity.
Introduce Jeff Keeling. He is the North American Sales and Marketing Manager for Brokk. Brokk has been the leading manufacturer for remote control demolition machines for 45 years and serves the construction, tunneling, mining, cement, metal process, nuclear, and safety rescue industries. Jeff has been a part of the construction equipment industry since 1988 and has over 20 years experience in the concrete industry, making him an expert in finding solutions to his customers' biggest challenges. All right, now that we've wrapped up the introductions, I'm really eager to hear from all the experts. So we can start with discussing one of the biggest things in construction, which is safety. I know it's paramount, but what people might not know is how critical good safety measures are to protecting profits. So what can you guys tell me about mitigating job site risks and the impact that they have on the bottom line?
I mean, I can start, but I can sit here and I can look at the 2 of you guys and say that stuff that you guys offer totally keeps people out of harm's way. Jeff, especially you with what you guys specialize in, you know, destroying things or going into remote applications, keeping operators and employees out of harm's way is, if there's anybody in the world that I'm going to pick to show on a construction site how to keep people out of harm's way, it's probably what you guys do. So I would defer to you on this one.
You know, the big thing for Brokk was, you know, it was founded back in '76, and the reason it was founded was by 2 contractors that had a project, and it was in a hot environment, very dangerous environment, and they didn't want to put any of their workers in harm's way. So they came up with the very first robotic demolition piece and got the job finished, and they saw that there was a call out there that, you know, for the most part, or not for the most part, you know, most companies, they want their people to go home safe. They want them to go home with all their fingers. They want them to go home and hug their kids. And, you know, Brokk has been focused on that for 36 years. I don't know, actually it's 45 years this year in doing that. And so there's a lot of different things that go into it. You know, looking at the different projects, you know, it's, as we say, it's the hallmark of what a Brokk is to keep people safe. So
I would just have to echo what Jeff has said. You know, pretty much the same thing about Vacuworx. Since the company started back in 1999, we celebrate our 22-year anniversary this month, and our focus, again, from a market standpoint, is always focused on safety, taking care of people. You know, just making sure they are kept out of harm's way. Just very similar to what Jeff said. That's, you know, a lot of our equipment very similar to the Brokk, you know, operated by wireless remote in a lot of cases, you know, keeping people out of harm's way. to reduce all the different, type of injuries and stuff that could happen in those type of applications. So.
And for us, it's really is, when we got started, because I grew up in the demo business, so going inside of buildings and doing debris removal. And the biggest thing for me was I honestly didn't want to spend all day in a skid steer inside of a building breathing in fumes, where found something that I could do this with no fumes, and that's transpired into a wide range of products that are all battery powered, that are designed for indoor work. So the fumes is a big thing. The noise restrictions are higher in Europe and overseas than they are in the U.S. But it's still something that affects the health and safety of your workers. And Jeff, like you said, the number one thing is everybody shows up in the morning and everybody goes home at night. So no matter what they do across the industry, whether it's in manufacturing or construction, or even if you're in an office space, you got to be able to go home to your family every day. So that's extremely important.
Insights. I wanted to talk about another major cost in the construction industry, which is delayed projects. How can a job site be kept on schedule and within budget so that contractors have fewer unprofitable days and more profitable days?
I think having the right tools for the job is really huge, right? So the industry is, I guess, I don't want to say lag. Yeah, I mean, it lags behind on the technology curve, right? You see stuff in other industries, medical, finance, they're always on the cutting edge of technology, but a lot of things that are out there in the construction field take a little while to catch on. I mean, look at Randy, what you guys are doing with vacuum lifting systems. I mean, vacuum lifting systems have been around for forever, right? And now you're starting to see this huge growth in the construction industry and what you guys are doing in pipeline and civil work and all that stuff. This is not new as far as, it came out last year, but it's really starting to catch on.
It is, and first selling the concept, what vacuum can do is a challenge to some people, and the fact that it can pick up concrete, with concrete being porous. So, we have to sell the concept first of vacuum lifting, because people just don't assume that, about vacuum having the power that it has. We've been able to pick up 60,000 pound slabs of concrete and 90,000 pounds of steel plate. It's simply amazing, but it's something, a lot of people, they have to see to believe it. But once they see how it works, they become believers pretty quick. So it's worked out very well and gave us an opportunity, as you said, not just to focus on pipeline. We've started diversifying, as you well know, back with Cratos and Triple E back, a few years ago from World of Concrete, getting into this line of product in the compact market, and able to hook up with people, like Brokk and different ones, with our attachments to put on their stuff. So it's being able to incorporate the technology, like you said, I think it's huge in the market today. So.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the market today embraces technology more than it did in the past. When I was thinking about it yesterday, kind of leading up to this, that back when I started was in '88, and a lot of times when you brought something new to market, the argument you always faced was, well, that's the way I always did it, so they're going to be fine, and that's the way they're going to do it. And you really don't run into that very often anymore. People embrace it, and a lot of it is going back to the question of, how do you keep jobs going? It's because when you can mechanize certain things, and Brokk may break down, or a Vacuworx might need a new seal, or a Sherpa may need a part, but for the most part, it doesn't get sick. It comes to work. It works at the same speed all day long, and so it helps to keep you on task and on schedule. So I think those are some of the changes, taking advantage of technology that's out there, because there's a lot of it, and it's just finding the right thing that fits your job site.
It's becoming more of a requirement, to gain those efficiencies now with the workforce being what it is. Condition of things in the world, it's become a requirement to increase those efficiencies and while maintaining the safety side of things, taking care of people. But it's been a welcome change for us. Definitely opened up a lot of new markets for us. So.
I think it's really all about understanding what's going on the job site and then helping guide somebody through that, because like you said, Jeff, a lot of times this is the way it's done, and with the technology they're a little bit more open these days. But how do you understand what you're doing and then go out there and say, this is how this type of product or machine or technology fits into exactly what you're doing, where you're not really changing much. You're just able to increase that efficiency where you're able to take, instead of doing the same project with instead of doing 2 projects with 10 people, right? Now you're able to do 5 projects with 10 people, or 2 projects with 3 people, right? Whatever the challenge is, whether you have too much work or not enough workforce, having the right technology, the right product, and the right equipment can really increase that efficiency and not really change much of the process.
All of you touched on this, but I think we can expand on it. The labor expense is a major concern when it comes to protecting profit. So particularly skilled labor as it continues to increase. What tips do you have for reducing these expenses?
I mean, for our standpoint, in our design of our equipment, we've tried to incorporate, trying to keep it simple, actually, from a maintenance standpoint and an operation. From a training standpoint, it requires a lot less training by keeping it simple and bringing unskilled, at the time, maybe unskilled people into that operation. It reduces a lot of the frustration by being able to have something simple, easy to operate. And it installs confidence in that person that they're out there operating a piece of machinery that, typically they wouldn't be in that position. So you've allowed them by something that's easy to install, easy to operate, low maintenance to accept that technology and to be able to, for unskilled or skilled workers, to utilize it in the market today. So.
I think it's all about training, right? So I heard somebody say recently, the cliche of hire slow, fire fast, right? But I've heard it. This person actually said, hire fast, fire faster, promote the fastest, right? So when you have somebody that is a good team member and a good employee, promote them, train them, teach them, give them the tools to succeed, so they can be more efficient. So when you get on the job site, you give those good employees the right tools and let them do what they're good at. I think that's really important.
Yeah, I agree. Skilled workers, they're hard to find. And so you want to do everything you can to keep them, whether it's getting them the latest technology or, as Alex mentioned, really promoting, when you find somebody that's eager, whether it's the manufacturing side, the construction side, it doesn't matter what business you're in. It's great when you find somebody who really wants to take something to the next level. And so you've got to nurture it, and, you got to find people that want to nurture that. You don't want the people that are, I'm not going to tell you everything, because, you'll find salespeople like that. I'm not going to tell you all my tricks because I still want to be the top dog. You got to find people that want to coach. They want to help develop that skill, because it just makes the company better as a whole. So, that's, to me, that's the key.
Yeah, there's another one. I've seen a meme recently of, somebody, the CEO talks to the CFO and he says, well, it's so expensive for us to do all of this training, right? And the CEO says, well, if we don't do that, then we lose them, right? Which one's more expensive? So, you know, it's the chicken or the egg, right? If you've got the right people, finding those people that show up consistently and want to be beneficial for the company and want to contribute, it's hard, but you got to work to keep them. So you have to train them the right way. You have to give them the right tools. You have to give them the opportunity to grow. Because if you don't, they move on. They move on to something else, and that's a big challenge in this industry of people jumping from place to place to place, looking for the next greatest thing. Because where they are, they might not get
labor, but how can some of the equipment that you guys have improve the performance of unskilled labor?
Well, a lot of it's going to relate to production. You know, as Alex, I think, mentioned earlier, if you've got a job site where you've got your workers out and let's say you want to take down a wall, soft demolition, and you can put a crew of 8 people on the wall, and in a day's period of time, they take it down. But if you can bring in a piece of equipment, put a grapple on it, and you can punch through, grab the wall, tear it down, and you can do something in 30 minutes, you're still going to utilize the 8 skilled workers, but they're going to be doing something else. So you only have one person that takes down the wall, and that's going to increase that productivity. And then you're going to have the other 7 people or 6 people, and they're going to be removing debris. So, I mean, everybody's still going to be doing things, but as Alex mentioned, instead of doing 1 wall a day, maybe now you're doing 4 walls a day. So that's where the technology is going to help you.
Absolutely. Yeah, but for us, being able to simply saw, cut, and remove, versus several different people having to drill, put anchors, do all the, the different functions that normally come with that, that process. It's huge, to see the time difference. We've had some of our contractors who've taken, 4x4 slabs, 6 inches thick, and removed 47 sections in less than an hour just by simply saw, cut, and using the vacuum lifting process. That would be unheard of and take days. And we've had, people who, have reduced their time significantly, as well as, like Jeff was saying, the personnel required to do that. By being operated by wireless remote, one guy sitting in the cab of a host unit can do the job of 3 or 4 people now, so it's a huge motivational factor, and a big part of us being able to convince people to give our technology a try, because they do see the benefit of the reduced labor force.
And then the reduced risk and reduced risk of injury and all the other things that go along with it. This can be, Randy, especially with what you guys do. I mean, I know that we've put PS1s on our units for a long time. We've got plenty of videos of, a concrete cutter that cuts and removes, 100,000 pounds of material in a day, one or 2 people. Whereas that normally could take, a day with 8 to 10 people. All those people are exhausted at the end of the day. Their bodies hurt, their bodies ache. It reduces the longevity of that person's working career. That person might, over time, they come into the workforce at the age of 18 to 20, and doing that day in and day out, year over year for a company, they might not be able to do that at the same age of 40, 45, 50, right? And their work life reduces. The long-term productivity of that person in the field reduces. So having those tools to extend somebody's work day, work career, their overall happiness, what they bring to the organization, it's huge. And the same thing with the robots, right? Having somebody banging on a wall with a chipping hammer, it can be done, right? But the overall happiness of that employee and their efficiency over an extended period of time is also something to take into consideration, and that really affects your ROI as a company. Because as if they're exhausted and they've got to move on to another role in a different company to alleviate some of that exhaustion, now you're training somebody else. Now you're bringing somebody else up to speed. And that employee turnover can really hurt an organization.
Yeah, the other thing to keep in mind is, when you pick something up, we'll use a Brokk. If you purchase a Brokk, what you'll find is you need to look at a complete package, because you'll create bottlenecks somewhere else. Maybe the bottleneck before was taking that wall down. Now that you can do it in a short period of time, now the bottleneck is getting the debris out of the way. So that's when a Sherpa comes into play, and then maybe a dumper of some kind. So you pick something up with the Vacuworx, or it's going to lead to other things. And so you want to look at something as a whole. One piece isn't going to take care of everything. It's going to be, it may lead to something else. So, and then when you do that, maybe your 8-person crew that you had before is now 2 4-person crews. And so now you can do twice the jobs at two different sites even.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Specifically, and how easy it is to use.
Say that again. Laura, what was the question?
Didn't come through, but my question was, can you talk specifically about the equipment and how easy it is to use for unskilled labor?
I mean, for us, I think our 2 main products are our Sherpa, our battery-powered skid steer, and our battery-powered dump buggy. Right? We now have a battery-powered mini excavator as well. That takes a little bit more skill. The skid steer, the Sherpa, is something that easily someone can jump on and operate, whether it's in tandem with a grapple bucket, cleaning up after something like a Brokk, or using a PS1 system as one of the attachments, or the PhD as an attachment. It's something that an unskilled laborer can learn and pick up within an hour or two. Our dump buggy is basically it's a motorized wheelbarrow, right? So like Jeff said, when you change the process on the job site and you put something new, you're just changing what the bottleneck is. So training someone, getting them up to speed on the use of a Brokk, once they become really efficient, you're now changing the back end of that. So now what do you do there? Having, for us, our products are pretty easy to jump on and use. So having an unskilled labor without much training, I think our stuff is pretty easy to jump right on and get to work.
And ours, as well, as we well know, the PS1, the PhD are, powered by, 12-volt battery. So, with the PS1, it's a simple flip of a switch, but just being, trying to know what to look for, in that situation, and from the safety features about it. But I think those two units are very easy to operate, and even getting into our more hydraulic units that can be mounted to a variety of types of equipment. And it's powered by the hydraulics of the actual host unit. So there's really nothing too much that you're having to introduce to somebody to being wireless remote, one button, to create the vacuum, 2 to release. So safety features built into it, but it's very, simple to operate. Like you said, within an hour or two, people are going to be easily trained and know how to operate. And we reduce a lot of that debris and the things that you're talking about, and have to use all the bottlenecks that you're talking about. By using the vacuum system, lifting system, it does reduce a lot of that, by just using one of these smaller units of the compact side.
The Brokk does take some time to get used to. We come out and we train, and we'll train for a day, but it could take 4 days, 3 days, 4 days. It depends on how quickly somebody picks it up. What we find is the younger video game generation, they pick it really quick. Somebody my age, maybe not so much. But the key is and it's not something that you're going to just throw anybody on each day. It's not going to be a new person, and you don't want that. You want somebody that's going to take ownership of that. And usually what you'll find is when you've got a piece of equipment like that, whether it's Brokk or anything else, if it really reduces the amount of work that you have to do physically, by holding a 90-pound jackhammer or something like that, you want to take care of it because you don't want to go back to that. And you see how productive it is. So a lot of times what we teach is, find your 2 or 3 people. We'll train them. They'll train themselves, amongst each other. And then you let them take care of the equipment. You still need mechanics, but a lot of times they want it to keep running. They don't want it to break down. So that's what we found is a good way to do it. So, but it does take a little bit of time, but once they get it, those things will sing. I mean, they do a lot of work.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's probably, Randy, similar to what your larger pipe lifters are, right? Once you get the hang, it might take a little bit of time to understand and how they lift and how they turn and operating it. But once you get a hold of it, the efficiency is incredible, and you're able to do that consistently with a single operator or 2 operators. It might not be something for everybody, but once they're trained on it, the efficiencies are incredible.
It really is, Alex. And having one guy, like I said, sitting in the cab of a host unit there with an excavator, typically on the pipeline side, operated by wireless remote, offers 360-degree rotation. So one guy can sit there and easily load, unload trucks, ships, different types of train, rail cars, different applications, that you get into. But one guy can sit there and string pipe, by himself, follow the truck. And so one person can now do that job without tag lines, with a lot of things involved in that. They're not climbing on the trucks. They're not climbing on stacks of pipe, to be able to put a strap or a chain on that. And in most cases in the oil and gas pipeline market, it's coated pipe that they're dealing with. So, of course, the vacuum system doesn't damage the pipe in any way. So, and that reduces a lot of repair costs and, going back and repairing the coating on those type of applications as well. So, like I said, it's huge. And that's really where, from the pipeline side that we got our start 22 years ago and has been very successful, in that market, and hopefully start seeing the same success in these other markets that we're getting into here. So,
yeah.
Video games were a good investment, but that didn't work out. But I wish I would have had your excuse.
What? Say that again.
I mean, I was just saying, I don't know why I'm not coming through, but that I tried to explain to my mom that video games are a good investment.
Video. Yeah. I guess nobody really recognized how much money you could make with esports and all of this stuff. If I would have known that, I would have kept going with my Madden football days back in high school and college.
Yeah. Well, I know that we're talking about equipment, so obviously equipment that's not operational is going to lead to a major expense. If we're relying on equipment, what are some ways that we can keep those machines operational?
The big thing for us is we have daily maintenance checks, and as long as you follow the schedules, make sure the oils are full and the grease is checked, and most manufacturers will spell out what you should do on a pre-job inspection. Also, when you finish a project, have somebody kind of take a look at the machine. You don't, when you use them really hard and then just shut them off and come back the next day and you don't do anything day after day. I had somebody tell me that they were amazed at how long a hammer can operate, and not have to add any grease to it. And I went over and I looked at it, and you just kind of, and it's pitted because it's gotten so hot that the grease, there's no grease, and the steel is pulling pieces apart inside the hammer, and so if you take care of it, if you do what the manufacturers tell you to do, then it should be, barring, we've had columns fall on the machines. Barring something like that, it'll keep running. So.
Yeah, it's like how long will your truck run without changing the oil? It'll go for 10, 15, 20,000 miles, but then all of a sudden it's just gonna stop, and it can't be used anymore. But I think it's like what you said, Jeff. You give somebody the right tool, you train them on it, and they take ownership of it, and they want to use it, and they want to keep coming back to it. So doing that daily maintenance and looking over the machine, making sure it's good, it's important for the longevity of the product. You look at something like a NASCAR race. You can go and run that car really hard for an entire day, but then the next day, that Monday morning, it goes back into the shop and they look at it, and even if something didn't break on the track that day, they look over the machine, they go through their maintenance schedule, and make sure it's in tip-top shape so that the next time it can go out and perform at its best. I think it's like that across any product, on a construction site or in any industry. You got to make sure the tools that you have are showing up every day and they're showing up the way they need to. And there's a maintenance schedule that goes into it, and that's why it's there. It's very important to get the most productivity.
We try to provide checklists, several different things, just for the operator to be able to do on a daily basis. The pad seal is a critical piece of our equipment, being able to create the right seal on whatever product you're picking up. So, that's something that, people are always asking, well, how long will it last? Well, it really depends on the operator. It also depends on the type of material that you're picking up. If you're scooting it across the top of, brushed concrete, it's not going to last as long, but if your operator's picking straight up and down and it's a smoother type material or smooth concrete, then, it could last for months. But it's something that has to be checked, every day. We recommend everybody before they start up, because it is such a critical part, of that process. So we try to make sure that that's part of our training. We've developed some online training for a lot of our equipment as well, and especially on our larger stuff for the pipeline, and we're working on training modules for all the other equipment as well, so they can stay familiar with the process and with that, what needs to be required for each machine. So, but it is very important to maintain certain things about the machine every day.
I see here Justin asked, do you offer any type of training programs for your customers? If for us, anytime we deliver a machine, we do some initial training, and then we have an online database of training videos. So under certain circumstances, so that we can send that off to somebody. Nothing that's really a certification, but we do try and create some troubleshooting videos so that we can help everybody as quickly as possible. And if it's something that's in depth, we can always go out to the job site and do some additional training if needed. But I think that's super important, is to make sure that everybody that's jumping on a product has some training and understands the capabilities and the do's and don'ts, and then how to maintain it.
Yeah, we're the same way. We anytime anybody gets a machine, 1 day of training is included with the machine. We also offer, that's operational, and we also go over your daily maintenance checks and how to change the oil, things like that. And then we also have specialized training that you can do later. If you want to bring your mechanics in to our place, we'll put on a 2 to 3 day school. We'll sabotage a machine so that your mechanic has to figure out what's wrong with it. They walk them through anything and everything that you can run into. And we do that. We just ask that you get your people here and we take care of it. So it's, we feel like it's very important to offer as much training as you want. Our technicians are available all the time. You can call them, ask questions. They'll walk you through things. If I've got this particular wall I'm taking down, if you got any hints on what's the best place to start, put us on a FaceTime call. they'll have you, well, show me what you got, and they'll help you walk through it.
Yeah, we're pretty much the same way. I mean, we offer on-site training as well as even bringing people inside. If you wanted, to bring them in-house, we can do that as well. And, going from a maintenance standpoint, repairs, or just simple operation, so we can do that. And as I mentioned, we have developed new training modules that we're putting out, and especially for our pipeline side, it's been something we've been doing for a longer period of time. We have, developed that to where we could put it online, and people can actually go out and look at those and go through the training part of it. So just to refamiliarize and keep them familiar with the process. But we have techs that are available 24/7, who, like you said, a lot of times these can be addressed over the phone. They can, you can do the Skype calls, or, be able to see what's actually going on with the customer, and what's happening. But in addition to that, they are always available 24/7 to go out and take care of that. So
I think that's super important. The mechanic training, right? All of these things in this industry. I think anybody that tells you a product sold into the construction industry isn't going to break, they're just straight up lying to you. It's going to break. It's going to happen. But the challenge is does your person in the field have basic knowledge to try and troubleshoot something, even the basics, to try and say, what, maybe it's just something quick, or maybe it's just this one fuse, or it's this battery, or it's this switch, or this hose. It doesn't always have to be something that's catastrophic, like Jeff mentioned, a concrete column falling on the machine, right? It can be something easy. Like for us, for our Sherpas, it could be as simple as something getting stuck on the foot pedal actuator. And I'm stepping on the machine and it's not turning on. Here's 2 or 3 quick steps that everybody should know. Check 1 or 2 things. I think that's huge for that uptime of the machine, and to really increase that ROI and that job site profitability, which is what we're really looking to gain.
I want to wrap up. So the last thing I want to ask you is if you could give some really simple tips that contractors can do right now that could help them increase profit. And I'm just going to put you on the spot a little bit.
Besides buy a Brokk, I don't know. That was the salesman side. Sorry.
there you go.
Yeah, I think it's really go ahead, Jeff.
I think the big thing is going back to the technology aspect. I mean, look at how you're doing things on the project. Take a look at what's out there. And then also not just a specific application. If you're going to look at a Brokk or a Sherpa or a skid steer, anything, there's so many attachments that can go with it, utilizing the Vacuworx and the broom and, all these other different things. And, it's not just a lot of times people will buy a Brokk because it's got a hammer on it. It's so much more than that. It's grapples and crushers, and it's, manipulators. There's so many different things you can do with a lot of pieces of equipment out there. So I think you can help your bottom line. And the best thing to do is when you look at a piece of equipment, take a look at your last few jobs and really sit down, take the time and say, if I had this, how would it have changed my job? Would it have gone faster? And, that's, otherwise you'll miss out on some opportunities to use some really good equipment out there.
In our case, I think being able to use the same machine for multiple applications, the same machine that can pick up concrete slabs can pick up flat steel plate, or with our larger units that we've typically had in the pipeline industry. You put a pad on there that conforms to the OD of the pipe, but you can take that pad off in about 10 minutes, and in 10-15 minutes you can actually be picking up concrete slabs or steel plate, and using the same machine. The attachment can do multiple applications, and being able to do that, being able to use it on multiple types of equipment, A lot of these applications, especially the compact side, you have contractors or even equipment dealers out there who have that they can start utilizing their skid steers or mini excavators or different types of seals that are maybe sitting idle, not being utilized. Maybe they've been in different markets, so this offers them, different opportunities with that equipment that may typically not be utilized. But also from our standpoint, being able to utilize it on anything from skid steers or excavators, backhoes, forklifts, cranes, all the different things, it gives them a lot of options to consider. When looking at one piece of equipment, you're not looking at multiple pieces of equipment to do that. You can buy one piece of equipment to accomplish those tasks.
Yeah, I think from my side, I've always heard you're either disrupting or you're disrupted, right? So one of the two is going to happen. So if you're on a job site, the technology is changing consistently. So how you did one job site in 2020 is not how you're going to do the same type of project in 2023. So having the newest and greatest available to increase your efficiency, I think that's the most important thing. It's as we continue to move on, numbers are getting tighter. It's getting harder to procure jobs. It's getting harder to find great people. But having the right tool for the job, whatever that tool might be, is the most important thing, so that it can be done safely, efficiently, and ultimately profitably. That's the most important.
Yeah, one other thing I wanted to mention was don't let safety stay out of the equation, because if you can reduce your mod rating, that's going to help your bottom line. If you don't have if you're self-insured and you're not paying, for one example would be we had somebody look at a machine. Let's say, is $150,000, the one he was looking at, all set up, and he decided it wasn't the right time, and he was self-insured, had a shoulder injury, and ended up paying 3 times that for the injury, and should have bought the machine. Called me immediately, said, hey, we really should have looked at that closer. So those type of things can also affect your bottom line. Is how does safety play into this? And if you can find something out there to do it a little bit better, maybe you can bid more jobs if that mod rating comes down. So there's a lot of different aspects to it. So
absolutely, yeah. I think a lot of people, get into technology and they look initially at the price, and they don't think, as Jeff was pointing out, they don't look at the big picture. One workman's comp case will more than pay, for some of these machines. So, having that technology available and being able to offer that to people, I think is huge. And the safety factor is always going to be number one. It's always been our number one goal, is to, just by keeping people out of harm's way, taking care of people. If you talk to our owner, that's one of his key reasons for developing the product, was just taking care of people. It wasn't trying to be profitable. It wasn't trying to make a lot of money on things. He just wanted to make sure that people were out of harm's way and that safety was number one.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for participating in our panel discussion, but I also want to open up the floor for anyone who has any questions at this time, and that way we can go ahead and wrap up. So questions can be asked in the chat and we'll answer them live. Did a really good job of answering everyone's questions, because we're not getting any questions asked.
I saw a question on parts availability, and we've got parts. If you're looking at the Brokk type product, we've got parts breakdowns available. Just contact us. We can email them. So that's not a problem.
And what is the same, being in the pipeline industry, for as long as we have, that market demands having parts readily available. People get a contract and they want it yesterday. As I said, all pieces of equipment, are going to break down at some point in time. Some parts going to fail, but we typically have a real good inventory of parts. We have people who've been here for long periods of time who know these machines front and back, and so they can help you without any problem. But parts are readily available, for all of our pieces of equipment. So.
Yeah, and we're the same way. I think for us, our team knows if it's not on the shelf, then it's coming off of a machine and it's going out to the customer. So we need to make sure that that's number one, first and foremost. Those machines are up and running. So we try and keep everything on the shelf and ready to go. There's one there's one other question from Sarah that just jumped up. Any common mistakes often made with or your machinery on job sites that you'd like to caution against?
On our end,
I was going to say for us, I think in the construction industry, everybody tries to push the machines as much as humanly possible. I think just understanding what the capabilities of the machines are, right? We've had people that have, and this is true story. We had somebody that tried to go into take a Sherpa with a hammer, and tried to go into a prison and break out a 12-inch thick wall in a prison. But when you understand how prisons are built, it's not your standard, 4,000 psi concrete that they use in there. So we said, you should be using a Brokk for this. This is not the right machine for the job. So I think really the common mistake for us is really I think customers want to push the product a little bit too much, and understanding what its capabilities are, and then really understanding what is the right tool for the job. I think is the biggest thing that we see.
So in our case, I think trying to operate the machines without the proper training, going out and just handing somebody a control box, you do need some training on it. The other thing is our machines are electric, and so they've got a power cable. And one of the mistakes we see on a job site is power cable management, because 90% of the time when we get a phone call that the machine won't run, it's because somebody either took a lift and ran over the power cable, or did something. And so that's, to us, that's one we're trained when we come out, is always be aware of where that cable is, and taking care of it, checking it, and that takes care of, like I say, 90% of the problems. When the machine doesn't run, it goes back to house power, it goes back to checking some of those things. So that's probably what we see the most.
And I think maybe for ours, there's not a lot.
I think we lost Randy.
A lot of common things, but the pad seal, those type of things, just to make sure it's installed properly, that it's, replacing it at the proper time. But it becomes all more of a training issue, as Jeff was referring to. It really does. From a training standpoint, knowing what to look for and making sure they understand that. And again, like you said, Alex, trying to use the piece of equipment for something that's really not designed for. We call that the Bubba Test. They always try to take it farther. It's a bigger hammer and a longer cheater bar that they try to use for different things. So it never fails. People will always try to take it above its limitations. So.
Absolutely. All right. Laura, how we doing on time?
It's up to you guys. I don't see any more questions on here. You guys have given us plenty.
Okay. Yeah, this was great. I appreciate Randy, you making the time, Jeff, you making the time, Laura, for you putting this together. You know, it's nice. All of our products kind of complement each other in a way. And ultimately, I think it really, Jeff, you touched on right there at the end. Ultimately, it's all about safety. The other things come, but really, it's the safety aspect is what drives everything else. And that really is the most important part. So again, thank you for agreeing to jump on this. I'm looking forward to doing this in person at some point. That would be nice.
Absolutely. Sounds great. Well, thank you for the opportunity. Laura, thank you for all your efforts. And Alex, thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this today. So we really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I guess, Randy, Jeff, if you want to put out your information, maybe type it into the chat. Yeah, I'll type mine in. If anybody has any questions for me, you can always reach out to me directly. My email is alex@cratos.com. And if there's anything that I can help, you know, any questions you have about what we talked about today that I can go into more detail, reach out. I'm happy to help anybody.
Mine is very simple, randyh@vacuworx.com. So phones and emails are all 24/7. I'm always available.
Awesome. And Jeff, you put yours in there as well. So thank you very much, guys. Be safe and looking forward to seeing everybody in person soon.
Sounds great. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks, Laura.